Surprise! It's a stream. It's a Monday afternoon. And I'm streaming. Why? I don't know. Just 'cause. Felt like it. Felt like having a stream. You know, so that's what I'm doing. Doing a Joe's Never Played. Joe's never played Gley Lancer. Advanced Busterhawk Gley Lancer. Which I actually think that at some point I have played this game. But I don't remember it, which for me, like if I don't remember playing it, that's good enough for a Joe's Never Played for me. So, and hang out for a little while. Mostly what I'm just testing. If my Wi-Fi here has been real, if you watched the last couple streams, the Patreon stream that I did for April, and then this past week's After Dark, it was not good. My Wi-Fi has been like all jacked up, and so I'm gonna put manual shot. I can adjust my speed from here. That seems weird. Okay, I'll leave it at the default. Okay, speed change, shot, speed change, gunner control. Okay, sure, that seems fine. So I actually am running a 50-foot long Ethernet cable, the same Ethernet cable I used to just be connected by Ethernet all the time when I lived in DC, which I could have ran around along the floorboards and behind some shelves to where my router was in the living room. I can't do that all the time here because I live in a house now in Tennessee, and like right now it's just sort of thrown down the stairs and going to the router. I'm planning on like doing a mesh network thing soon, but for now we're just making sure that everything works with the Ethernet. So Wandering Sword says this game is amazing. I believe you. I've heard nothing but good things. And I've been, I used to play a lot of shoot 'em ups, a lot, and so it seems like I can just change this with the C button as I'm going, so I'm going to start with search, I guess. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about this game, and like I said, I feel like I have played it at some point. Probably like when Genesis first kind of hit the scene, and you would just download ROMs and sort of like, oh, we're doing something, we're playing a thing, but not enough that I remember it. And yeah, I used to play a lot of shoot 'em ups. I still love the genre. I used to play a lot more of them, and just recently I've sort of been like, why haven't I been doing that as much? And trying to get back into it. Really, it kind of started with the Genesis draft, if you haven't watched that. I did the Genesis draft video capture, all using my Genesis, and there were not a ton of shooters in that list, unfortunately. But I drafted Musha, which I think is the best shooter on the Genesis, in my opinion, in the U.S. library for sure. It's because that was we were restricting that to U.S. releases, and which this is not. But it was like I played some Musha, and I was like, man, I really like this game, and I did Thunder Force 3 for the oh, that's dope. I did Thunder Force 3 for the March Patreon stream, and had a lot of fun with that. And then that Konami Arcade Collection came out recently, and that is mostly shoot 'em ups, and I was sort of rediscovering Gradius 2 through that. Because Gradius 2 is real good. One of the best in the series, right up there with Gaiden and 5. And so that sort of put me back on like, yeah, man, playing some shoot 'em ups. And so I wanted to test out this setup with throwing the old Ethernet cable down the stairs. And I was like, man, I should play Gley Lancer, because like that's a thing that people really like, and I haven't done a lot of that, so I'm gonna do some of that. And I'm really experimenting with the weapon setup here. I liked that burner, but didn't have a lot of range. Laser seems good. And I'm definitely going to be checking the chat. It's hard to play a shoot 'em up and like check the chat and not die. So I will be checking it though. So if you're putting stuff in the chat, I feel like I saw another chat comment or two. I will be looking in on that for sure. Twin shot. So it seems a little more powerful, but it doesn't go through enemies like the laser that I just did. Okay, so the C button changes. I can't change the setting that I picked for my gun pods at the beginning. I just, whatever, each setting seems to have some variations. So Wandering Sword says, I recently discovered it, probably the most underrated shooter on the Mega Drive. Yeah, I think probably, man, look at that parallax. Like, this is just a really good looking game, I'll say that for sure. Like, if you look at although there's a parallax going on above the water, and then in the water, we have this sort of wave warping effect not on the enemies, but the mountains I just passed through. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's the most underrated. That's a hard thing to quantify, but I feel like the people who love it, the people who know it, love it, and there's a lot of people who just don't know it because it's one of those, Japan exclusive guys. Wow, those things are kind of weird, bioorganic, biomechanical, sort of gross looking, which I dig. Cronenbergian vibes from the enemies here, and Messiah is like a pretty good. That's Messiah, not Messiah, like Jesus Christ. Is a publisher that put out some really good, like, fun stuff. So yeah. Wandering Sword also says there's an English patch. Stories about a girl named Lucia, a fighter pilot on a suicide one woman, I guess, mission to rescue her father. My question would be, if it's a suicide mission and she rescues her father, how's he gonna get back to Earth, I guess, or whatever planet? Yeah, the patched version is, I probably have it. I was gonna say this is like a lightsaber, and then it actually says saber in the weapon type. So yeah, okay. Not sure that this is the best fit for the type of. I'm gonna stick with it though. Actually, I'm gonna see where it goes. See where because it can deflect enemy shots, which is pretty dope. Yeah, I'm sure I have the English patch because I have a set of. Okay, so it deflects some enemy shots, but not others apparently. I have a ROM set loaded onto my flash card here, so I probably have the English version, but I didn't look. I didn't check. I just went right to the Japanese version. Is that the burner? Is it? Yeah, it is. I'm liking the burner. I think I'm going to stick with the burner for a little bit. It seems like you've got a lot of options for customization, but it also seems like I guess it's hard to say because I like letters and numbers when it comes to the power-ups. Letters and numbers is good because it's really easy to tell what's what. Or colors even, just colored gems, which some compile shooters do. But compile a lot of times use the numbering scheme, which I appreciate because it's just like, oh, I'm using number 4, so I just want to get more number 4s to upgrade my stuff. And I think there is a little bit of color coding with these power-ups, but they're so small it's hard to see, and so yeah, like there's red on that one, and then there's yellow on the burner. You can see it as sort of attached to my gun pods that way. So I mean, there's some. I just don't. When I'm playing a shoot 'em up and it's usually like frenetic and you're trying to avoid stuff and not die, and like I just want to be able to tell at a glance like exactly what the power up is, which is why I don't love the salamander power-ups and like the arcade Contra power-up scheme of like, oh, we're gonna make it look like a gun, and it's like, but they all look like guns except for a couple of them, which are letters, and then of course in the ports they're all letters, but it's like I can't tell which of the guns is which because I'm not trying to study the sprite of a gun when I'm shooting aliens. I'm trying to shoot aliens when I'm shooting aliens. And yeah, that's just, sorry, that's my rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk about shoot 'em up power designs. That's gross looking. This is, once again, David Cronenberg does Mega Drive shoot 'em ups. Kaboom. Wandering Sword says the pods are nice, mix up the gameplay. Search is a popular choice, but I prefer reverse. The voice is probably the ship AI. It's a nice touch. Yeah, for sure. These story sequences actually kind of remind me. There is apparently, I've not played it, but I've seen gameplay of it, and it looks pretty bad as one would expect. But there is apparently an unlicensed pornographic shoot 'em up for the Genesis. And now I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head because the title is not relevant to either pornography or shoot 'em ups really. But you know, the cutscenes are like anime girls like taking their clothes off. I can't tell if that extended the reach of my burner or not. I don't think it did. But these cutscenes obviously, like, she's fully dressed in like a pilot's uniform, which is fantastic, by the way. Really nice to not play a game from 1992 and like the girl isn't just wearing a bikini in the cockpit because it was 1992 and that's kind of what we did then. But yeah, there's this pornographic shoot 'em up for unlicensed pornographic shoot 'em up, which by all accounts is just like really bad. Like the gameplay of this shooting is awful, and you know, because that's not why people were playing it. I guess they were playing it to see topless anime girls, because that's what I want to do. I want to play a bad shoot 'em up so I can see pixelated boobs. Anyways, that's a thing that exists. This game, on the other hand, is actually good. Although, you know, this is one of those things where like, I'm going to say it, and then I see I didn't even have to say it. I was about to say it feels kind of easy, and then I immediately died. So, you know, apparently, but it does compared to stuff like Gradius or R-Type. Like it feels a little bit easy. But I'm also okay with that. Not every shoot 'em up. I think there are some shoot 'em up devotees who would say like, no, they all have to be like ridiculously tough as nails, and they don't. They really don't. I mean, I like hard shoot 'em ups. But I like it when they're tough but fair. Like, now I'm getting to a point where this game is going to start killing me, which is fine, because this seems fair. This feels fair so far. Whoa. You know, it feels like a reasonable challenge, and not like, you know, there's a bunch of cheap deaths. And I appreciate that they went the route of the rainbow flicker bullet. The rainbow flicker bullet is really, it's really nice when you're playing a game like this, because you can, it doesn't matter what the background is, the rainbow flicker bullet will always show up because it is flickering rainbow colors. And that is really valuable. It would be kind of dope if you could have 2 gun pods with separate shot types. But I do also realize that that's kind of asking. What is that one? Oh, I don't think I'd seen that. I haven't seen that one yet. That's pretty dope. Dig that. Yikes. Question Block Gaming says, I always get this game and Soul Dees confused for some reason. I think it's the ship design. The ship does look similar to the ship in Soul Dees. That is definitely true. I think I like this game a little bit more than Soul Dees. Also, Soul Feast is kind of the way to go, because Soul Feast is the Sega CD version of Soul Dees. They're basically the same game, but I think Soul Feast has... I mean, I basically, I know it has like silly cutscenes, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it also has like a better soundtrack. Like, maybe it didn't. Maybe it has the same. Yikes. Maybe it has the same soundtrack on both versions. But I think I like this more than Soul Feast or Soul Dees, which is still a good game. I still like that game. But I think I'm enjoying this a little bit more. This game has a very driving soundtrack. Which is what you want in your Mega Drive shooter. There you go. That's the trick to get rid of those things. Nudge your gun pod over the border so it will just shoot them. Boy, they weren't kidding when they said the search doesn't always do what you want it to. Were they? But I guess I was warned. Let's see. Wandering Sword says, my preferred way is playing is hard mode. Trust me, it's pretty damn tough. I can promise a more satisfying, fulfilling difficulty. Yeah, I like to, you know, a lot of times I will bump up the difficulty in a game. Depending on the game. Modern games, I'm a lot more inclined to bump the difficulty up immediately, because I think a lot of modern games sort of err on the side of being a little bit too easy, although it depends on the game. And, it depends on the game, and I don't like, I mean, games made for a wide audience to be playable and accessible is totally fine with me. But like, when I started playing Devil May Cry 5, earlier this week, there's an option right at the beginning that's like, oh, you can play it as like the normal way if you're not familiar with this kind of game, or you can play the Devil Hunter difficulty or whatever, you know, thing and I went for that because I was just like, and it's it still kind of feels maybe a little too easy, except for the bosses. But I like to learn, especially the shoot 'em up like this. Like I want to learn. I want to learn the game before I, bump up the difficulty. Especially now that I am actually like having trouble getting past this part. Once I hit stage 4, apparently. Did I really get through 4 stages already? Wow. Okay. Yeah, we'll change the move. We'll do the mover change. So since Wandering Sword said he prefers the reverse, I'm gonna give that a shot. Do that. See how that goes. Here on stage 4. I like the reverse style in Image Fight. It has gun pods that you control that way, and I definitely, yikes! I definitely find that to be like a pretty usable thing. Although I did just get like totally smoked, so. We'll go with the 5-way. Oh, see, 5-way doesn't have a lot of range. Yikes. Maybe I like search. Maybe I'll stick with search when I go back. I don't know. Yikes. Question Block Gaming says reverse totally looks like the way to go. I mean, it's controllable. Oh, and if I hold down, okay. So if I hold down C, I can lock it into position. So that's actually pretty dope. So I can point it whichever direction wow. I can point it whichever direction I want, and then I can lock it by holding C. So that's pretty cool. That helps. In games like this that don't have analog controls, it's always tricky to decide how fast you want your ship to go. Like in most Gradius games, I get like 1 speed up, sometimes 2 depending on the game. But usually I feel like once you start going too fast, it's easy to sort of accidentally run into walls and stuff. go back into bullets when you don't mean to. Soundtrack is great, though. Like, this isn't going to save. This game didn't have battery backup. This isn't going to save my high scores, but I'm going to enter them. I enter it anyways. Let's see here. Let me go search again. I was feeling like I was having pretty good luck with search. I feel like maybe at an advanced point I might want to use normal or reverse. I didn't really want to grab that, but I did really not want to crash into the wall, so here we are. Oh, hey, hold up. Yeah, I'm gonna go with burner. Let's I think I'm gonna stick with it. I'm not gonna go with the bouncer. Oh no. Ugh, I got greedy. I should have just let those get, like, what are they gonna do? They're just gonna sit in there and shoot at each other. Matt Faringer says, never heard of this game. It was Japan only release, so that's not necessarily surprising. was all. That's the bouncer. That's okay. Well, I guess we're on lightsaber for this. What seems like a boss fight. So danger, Will Robinson. Come out here, coward. Hide in the wall from me. That's what you get. You get lightsabered. Is that the 5-way? What is that? It is the 5-way, okay. I think, yeah. The burner, so now I'm starting to be able to recognize the power-ups on site, which is good, but it would be, again, numbers and letters. Colors are good. Rather than like little guns that you have to kind of be like, is that the thing? But I like the burner because it kind of travels along the wall if it doesn't go, you know, if it doesn't hit something right away. It's powerful, but it's not as limited in range or width as the saber. I think the burner is the kind of generally, you know, what I feel good about. I always love it when shoot 'em ups have these battleship levels where it's like the enemy's got a giant thing and you gotta fight the thing and all the things that come out of the thing, and those are pretty cool. Like the final stage in UN Squadron. That's pretty dope. This is when we really kind of have to wonder, like, why? I mean, I guess it had more story than a shoot 'em up usually does, but like, why wouldn't this come to the U.S.? Like, these kind of games were popular. I don't know. I mean, the Genesis was selling much better in the United States than it was in Japan by this point. So, like, yeah, why not? Why not give us Gley Lancer? Advanced Busterhawk Gley Lancer. No, no, it's Voltron. Oh no. That's probably a bad place to die. I feel like wherever it's going to respawn me, I'm probably not going to get a lot of good power-up opportunities here. I'm going to get the 1, which is better than nothing, I guess, but like, this is going to be dicey. assuming... Actually, I'm doing damage to the nose, okay. Oh! I think I'm supposed to hit that green, the blinking green thing inside. That seems like a weak point. Call it a hunch. But maybe I should just blow up the nose first and not, like, worry about it. Especially since I'm, like, relatively low-powered. Martel the Cool says, so cool. And I mean, you're the expert, dude. And MVL Gaming says, hello, everyone. Hello. MVL Gaming says, this game looks cool. Looks up price, then dies a little inside. Well, hey, man. I'm playing this on an EverDrive, so... I think you can buy one EverDrive for less than what it costs to buy an actual legitimate copy of this game, so... It's kind of tiresome that it makes me blow up that engine every time I can, like, lose a life. It's like, yeah, you're gonna fight the boss again, but first you have to just, like, shoot at this stationary object for a minute. Then you can fight the boss again. Ooh. I'm not fully keyed in on where the hitbox is. Like, I know it's not very big and it's not the whole ship. But I'm not totally comfortable with where it is yet. Also, if you can hear that pile driver from next door, I apologize, but they are doing construction next door to my house. So, which it's hard to get mad at because they're actually building like a charitable thing is being built next door. Like there was a bunch of stuff about, you know, what it is, and it's this charitable thing that, you know, helps people in need and stuff, and so it's hard to be annoyed that, like, oh, they're building that thing, and like, but at the same time, it's like, I hear construction noises all day, every day during the week, and can't help but be a little annoyed. Okay, so I mean, the nose is taking damage, so I'm just gonna destroy the nose first as best I can, and you know, if my gun pod can shoot. Wandering Sword says, Stage 7 has a very gritty, dark, melancholic song. It's great stuff. The music in this game is fantastic as well. Yeah, I'm really digging the soundtrack. And I also like dark and melancholic music. I was listening to The Cure's Disintegration on my way to... I dropped my wife off at work this morning because parking can be a hassle in downtown Nashville, and so some days she asked me to give her a ride, and so this morning I gave her a ride to work. And yeah, I was listening to Disintegration on the drive. It's still a great record, by the way, if you're curious. Alright, so I have to take on the whole battleship again, but this will give me a chance to be a little more powered up. on this go round, but this initial sweep. Okay, there we go. Let's say until I get something. I'm really while I'm talking about this, you know, getting back into shoot 'em ups, being good about playing shoot 'em ups again. I gotta grab that Thunder Force 4 or Lightning Force on Switch. Yeah, I have a cart copy of it, and obviously I have an EverDrive, so I can play it that way. But it sounds like M2 did some pretty cool stuff with it, including the Saturn version of Thunder Force 4 allowed you to play as the ship from Thunder Force 3 with the power-up loadout from Thunder Force 3, and M2, being the like ever so diligent folks they are, carried that over into the Switch version, which $8 on the Switch is way cheaper than what you will pay for the Thunder Force Collection Volume 2 on the Saturn. So that seems like a reasonable purchase to make. I need to do that. I need to grab that. I actually didn't realize that until recently that they had added that or carried that feature over. And I was sort of on the fence about picking it up, and it was like, I already have a cart copy on the Genesis, and like, but I want to support M2 because they make just fantastic stuff, and I want to incentivize them and publishers who work with them to let them make more stuff. So, you know, that's one that I want to grab. The Sega Ages lineup has really been, you know, pretty good. Like, I don't really like JRPGs. Like, Phantasy Star is not a thing that I need to buy, but I will say that it is really cool that M2 added the ability, or not the ability, but like the function of auto mapping. Because I played a little bit of Phantasy Star 4, but it was actually Shining in the Darkness, going back to the Genesis draft that I pulled a bunch of footage from, which if you haven't watched that, it's on the channel. There's a playlist for our drafts and everything. But I had to pull some footage from Shining in the Darkness, which has first-person dungeons similar to Phantasy Star 1, and like not having an auto map is just like, yikes. It makes that game a lot harder, or a lot more tedious. And apparently they mess with like the leveling and everything, so that's a cool thing. Question Block Gaming says, playing shoot 'em ups again, you should try out Wings of War. I played a little bit of Wings of War in October of last year during our Halloween or 31 Nights of Horror games, because Wings of War is like a very, I mean, I was talking earlier about like the sort of Cronenbergian like biomechanical stuff in this game, but like Wings of War is like kind of like there's like a hell theme kind of running throughout. So yeah, I played a bit of that. That is in the stream archive somewhere. If there's a playlist on the channel for streams, if you go in there, it's going to be back in October at some point. But I spent a little bit of time with Wings of War, which is, yeah, very, like, I think that night I was thinking about playing Hellfire, which is actually not, like, despite the title, is actually like not a very horror themed, you know, sort of thing at all, really. See, that's that too fast thing where like I just nudged up because I wanted to move up towards the thing to get shots at it when it retracted, and I moved up too far. But 2 doesn't feel like it's fast enough, you know? I don't know. Question Block Gaming says, the Switch version of Phantasy Star 1 is a godsend, not gonna lie. Yeah, that's legit. Like, I having that auto map in there and not making it as grindy is like, that really saves a game. Gain Ground is one that I need to grab because the arcade version of Gain Ground I don't know has ever been actually officially re-released by Sega. You know, and that kind of, I've always liked that game. I feel like that game was sort of the, was it sort of a punchline, like kind of oof, kind of on the level of like Kid Chameleon and like Altered Beast. Like people kind of realize some of those games maybe aren't that good, and then people are like, oh, Gain Ground, and I'm like, no man, Gain Ground is dope. It's like a single screen, you know, run and gun shooter, but there's like kind of strategy elements in it, and there's like a million different characters to play as, and they all have different weapons and mechanics and are different, like good in different situations. And they range from like Vikings to like, you know, soldiers, like modern soldiers to like, I don't even know. There's like a Zulu tribesman in there, which is, it's like a little, you know, but it's like, it's just got a really weird cast with a bunch of like cool different abilities, and it's a really unique game. And the arcade version was made for a vertically oriented monitor, and I do have a flip grip for my Switch, so that's like a thing that I'm into getting use out of, you know, when and wherever possible. I was so low, it was very hard to avoid. Question Block Gaming says I might actually grab the Gain Ground port. I'm waiting for the Japan shop card to grab the Virtua Racing port. Gain Ground is super underrated. Yeah, I don't know. Apparently a lot of folks have been grabbing Virtua Racing from the Japanese shop, and I mean, hey, if you love Virtua Racing that much, like, via con Dios for sure, but like, I mean, we all know it's going to come to the US eventually, and that just seems like kind of a hassle. The last time I bought like a Japanese PSN card, I got it from like a vendor on, you know, eBay or on the internet, wherever, and it was just like, they charge a couple bucks, you know, to hook you up, and it's kind of like, for something that I know is eventually coming to the US, like, do I want to give a couple bucks to some rando on the internet? I don't personally, but like, I get it. It looks really dope. I watched the John Lenneman's video on it, the Digital Foundry retro video about it, and I mean, it looks like a great port, which is, you know, that sort of M2 stock and trade is great ports. So, who's surprised, right? But like, I just don't know if I'm the guy that feels the need to like, oh, come on. Question Block Gaming says, I should grab a flip grip. Not sure why I didn't. I think they're just available now, right? Like, I think maybe I paid a couple bucks less than like the average person. If you buy it from like directly from Fangamer, but like, they're not expensive. The reason that I got one right away is just because like they're not expensive. Like, $15, I think, which even if you don't get a ton of use out of it, like, even if you have any of those games, like I have the Namco Museum, which has a bunch of vertically oriented games. I have the SNK collection, which has a bunch of vertically oriented games. Like, I have a lot of, you know, I have a lot of games that are vertically oriented that I can play on my Switch, and so it's just like Punch Out. That was the big one, really. It was like, I have Punch Out. And that's one that I really, but I Punch Out, I have Donkey Kong, I have, you know, just a bunch of games on my Switch where it's like, yep, that's the thing that I will use. And so now it's sort of fed into like, now I'm going to buy other games that use it just so I can get some use out of it. So yeah, I dig it. I think that it's definitely, if you have a lot of old, you know, arcade games and whatnot on your Switch that do use it, like, come on, it's totally worth the, you know, $15 or whatever. Question Block Gaming says, you can call me QBG, it's easier to say. QBG says, my reasoning for grabbing Retro Racing... it was a difference of like $2 to get a points card, which is whatever, and I could use it to grab footage for a video. That makes sense, and that's why I don't read the chat while I'm trying to do this, because then I die. We're gonna try the double on this one, because it seems like for this boss the burner just doesn't quite have the range that I'd really like to have. Sort of keep my distance and still do some damage, so. Wolfsight says afternoon. Good afternoon. There we go. Now you got a clear path to the... There we go. There we go. It's all a matter of having the right tool for the job. Wolfside said, just finished making chocolate roll cakes. When I saw the title, I thought it said advanced buttermilk. Guess I'm still in baking mode. Ah, and that's what I get for checking the chat. First continue, taking 4 stages without having to continue. That was what got me that top score. I don't think we're gonna see that one retired. Let's see if the game's trying to tell me something. Excuse me. Ooh. Just look at all those slow-moving lasers. Kaboom. Wolfside says achievement unlocked. Distract streamer long enough to cost a life. Thanks a lot, jerk. It's all good. I think I have unlimited continues because I've continued a fair number of times. Although, of course, I say that and now, like, I'll die and be out of continues or whatever. Also, I've mentioned this before, that this controller is really dope. This is the 8-bit Do M30, the 2.4G version, not the Bluetooth version. And the fact that I am playing a shoot-'em-up pretty competently with it, I think probably should tell you, most of what you need to know. But yeah, it's a really great controller. I like it a lot. Some folks tested it and found that it had, like an average of like 3 milliseconds of lag, which is, less than a frame. And it's really, yeah, let's take that since we can shoot through So I think it was Wandering Sword earlier who mentioned, are those woolly mammoth skeletons? Like, I can't even tell what those are supposed to be. Oh no! Who mentioned the music in this stage. And yeah, it's pretty dope. I don't know if melancholic is the word that I would use, which I think is the word he used to describe it. I'm not sure that that's the word I would pick, but I see where you're coming from. And it's very different than the rest of the soundtrack so far, but also just in general, the soundtrack is really good. So, this feels like it would be a good place to have like the reverse option for my gun pod, because I could set it and be like, no, this is the thing I want you to shoot at right now. I don't know that in other circumstances I would have grabbed that weapon, but I wanted to have 2 gun pods. Which is an interesting design decision on the part of this game, right? It's like, it puts you in that spot sometimes where it's like, well, I don't know that I really want this weapon, but like I want to not be hosed with only 1 gun pod or no gun pods, so I'll take whatever that weapon is, so that I'm in a more favorable position potentially. Unless you really, if you really feel like that particular weapon is the one, then maybe you wouldn't, and you wouldn't take the second gun pod for it. Really cool use of some parallax type effects right here. Come out and fight me, coward. I see you hanging out behind those background layers. If you got any guts. There we go. You should have stayed a coward. Gotta feel like we're getting towards the finish line here, I would think. Stick with the burner. I'd like to put this game to bed before I stop streaming. That's sort of what I'm going for, so. He says and then immediately dies. See, here's another one of those spots where I'd probably rather keep the twin shot, but I want the second gun pod because there's more overall firepower, so I'll take the bounce. It's the same spot where I died last time. So I might actually crack that top score if I can manage to not die. I'm inching closer. Okay, well, I got that. We got past that sticky wicket. Well, this just got really weird. Okay. Ooh, missed the highest score by just a little under 10,000 points. To call it a stream here pretty soon, but I feel like 8 seems like a reasonable number of stages for a shoot 'em up from 1992, so I feel like I can't be that far off. So hopefully we can get the job done. Now that I know that those weird faces are going to try to like block me out of advancing, I can be a little more prepared on that front. I got so hung up on the weird faces that I actually forgot about these guys. This whole things with faces, blocks with faces coming at me thing is really weirding me out, man. Is the bad guy, is that supposed to be my father? Because that's the whole thing. Someone mentioned in the chat earlier that the story is about saving your father. Is that supposed to be him? Is that the bad guy? Is that just a face? I don't know what's going on, man. Alright, we got some skull imagery. I always like that. Which one is this? Oh. Boom. Stage 8 cleared. Was that the final boss? That it seemed like it could have been. Nope, stage 9. Here we go. We're back in space. I'm in space. There's a lot going on here. This, I mean, could be the last stage. I don't know. At this point, any stage could be the last stage. That's what my feelings are at this point. In a game like this, at this point, any stage could be the last stage. Once you're past 8, I would say, then it's like, could be 9, could be 10, could be 12. I hope it's not 12. If you haven't watched me stream in a little while, I live across the street from a fire station. Yeah, burner. Ready to do you some hot DPS. Now that seemed like a boss, but apparently it wasn't, so... No! Ugh. Some pretty serious life force vibes right here. Oh, come on. See, that's the thing about this search option for the gun pods. It's like, it doesn't... I mean, again, it tells you, like, it's not reliable. And I guess if it was, it would be kind of broken, but, like... it's really not reliable. Sometimes it just kind of has a mind of its own. And it's like, there's a thing. Oh. There's a thing right there. You should shoot at it, but it doesn't shoot at it. But 5-way is maybe going to be a little more effective when it comes to clearing out this weird sort of organic mass. Ugh. We're gonna try. I'm gonna go reverse again. See if having a little more control and being able to lock our gun pods helps a little bit here at the higher stages. I appreciate in certain situations the ability to point my guns exactly where I want them to go, but the search is it's too good at what it does to really stick with anything else, I think. Yeah, in fact. Just gonna do that so I can go back to... See, the other thing with the search that you can't do with the reverse or with, you know, whatever is, it can fire in two directions at once. Right, and the other settings that I've seen let you lock one. Let you lock one in one direction and then, you know, you move the other, or, you know, any of that kind of stuff, so. I saw that coming, like, as it happened. And where's the checkpoint in this stage? least I don't get sent all the way back. Yeah, get out of here. Oh. Daniel Porteous says, "Hi, how are you? You gave yourself time to look at it. What do you think about Gley Lancer?" It's good. I like it. Yeah, it's a very good shoot 'em up. Ken Terminated by Google says, "OMG, it's Joe." That's me. All right, let's have another go at this stage here. That is the most aggravating thing with this search gun pods. It's just like there's a thing right there shooting at me and you're just not. You're like shooting at a thing that just happens to be moving on the other side of the screen. So I like the burner, but I'm going to leave it this time, actually, because I feel like the twin shot would be more help later in the stage. So I'm done. I'm going with that. That's what we're sticking with. That's my hot strat. Let me keep a little more distance from that guy too, which is nice. Alright, so I'm not going to get either of those. And we're going to go in here with the twin shot. And I think... that's the move. I legitimately don't even know what hit me. Oh, great. I'm on my last life and I don't have the option to take the twin shot in there again, so... I guess I'm gonna go with the 5-way. That seems so far like it's been better than the... The problem is this thing just doesn't do a lot of damage. I think that is going to be it for today. I was really hoping I could finish this game, but I do have dogs that need to get their walk for the afternoon and all that kind of stuff, so I've been going for a good little while. So thanks everybody who came and hung out, and see you next time.